Let's now turn to Ron Paul himself, the candidate for president seeking the Republican nomination, Congressman from Texas. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
So $4.3 million raised online in a 24-hour period tied to sort of a remembrance of the British, the Guy Fawkes rebellion in Britain trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Explain to me what those supporters who are drawn to you on that kind of anniversary are trying to say.
Well, it was a mystery and something I'm learning about. Evidently, this was a replay of history in the movie V for Vendetta, which I have not seen. And they've just used this as a date which symbolizes one individual's trying to stand up against the abuse of the state. Of course, the movie ended a lot better than did the history, and those individuals who have organized this emphasizes the peaceful approach to this rather than the violent approach. But nevertheless, it captured the minds and attention of a lot of people, enough to tens of thousands who've sent money, and we raised that $4.3 million in a 24-hour period. So to me, it's pretty remarkable and pleasantly surprisingly.
Well, Congressman, they didn't let you in the last debate, but I think the thing that stood out in most of the debates for people who don't know you is you're the odd man out when it comes to the Iraq war. I mean, all the other guys up there are trying to outdo George W. Bush and being tough, and you say, let's get out of Iraq. Now, how can that appeal to the Republican base?
Well, the base is so small, so the very, very small base that has hung in there defending the war, they're going to be a tough sale for me. But just think of all the Republicans who have left the party, the ones who didn't vote last go around, and the independents who you need. 70-some% of the American people are sick and tired of the war, and most of all conservatives, even those who support the war, are coming to realize we can't afford it anymore. We have to borrow the money to fight the war from the Chinese, and because of all this borrowing and spending, our dollar's on the ropes. So American people are waking up to this fact that we have lived beyond our means, and we're at the beginning, if not in the midst, of a major financial crisis due to our foreign policy.
Congressman, the challenge, I think, to you now seems to be taking this online enthusiasm and this financial support and translating it into votes. How are you planning to do that? What kind of operation are you putting together to actually translate this into votes in those early states, those building blocks to the nomination process?
Well, it gives us a lot of room to do that. That is, we can spend the money, which we're doing right now. I mean, just in the last week or two, we've spent about $1.5 million buying television and radio, and we're going into New Hampshire, which is a really ripe state for us because there are a lot of independents up there, and we have a very good chance to have a good showing there as well. Now we'll have the money to advertise in a major sort of way in South Carolina, in Nevada, as well as to beef up our organization in Iowa. So we have the funds, more funds right in the bank now than some of the others who are said to be the major candidates.
You campaign hard against big government. You want to eliminate the Department of Education, maybe energy, other things. And while most Americans may say they're against big government, most of us are pigs at the trough. Now, you know that.
Yeah.
So how can you really get purchase with saying, let's reduce the government to, Thomas Jefferson days?
Well, I appeal to those who have to pay for it, and right now it's the young people who have awakened to the fact that they can't expect to get much out of Social Security, and they have to pay a lot into it. So a lot of people...
Let me stop you right there. What's your plan for Social Security? How would you make it solvent?
Well, it would be solvent if people had voted like I have.
No, now they didn't.
Okay, no, we have to quit the spending. I've never voted to spend any amount of money. The only way you can tide it over and work in a better system is you have to save hundreds of billions of dollars from this overseas expenditure, just like this recent $10 billion we gave to Pakistan, of all places. No, we can save hundreds of billions of dollars, cut the deficit, restore soundness to the financial system, help the dollar, at the same time allow young people just to opt out and get out of Social Security, and you don't have to cut any benefits to the elderly. Don't put anybody out in the streets, but you can't do it unless you cut the foreign aid and the foreign operations and the militarism. That is an area where I think you can get a consensus with the American people, and you don't have to attack the programs here at home.
Congressman, other than lovers of the Constitution, as I know that you point to often, describe for me the profile of a typical Ron Paul supporter here. 21,000 people came to your website yesterday, or this group's website, and donated money to you. Lots of new attention. What is the typical Ron Paul supporter?
Well, the typical supporter is nondescriptive because they're different. They're very, very diverse. They come from all ranks and files, all colors, and all parties. We get Democrats and independents and Republicans, and I like to kid we even get a few anarchists who'll come to our rallies. So it's everybody's coming together that's sick and tired of big government, and they don't trust the major parties and the leadership of either party right now. And but they do not fit one description.
Congressman, you say Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone finds this message that you're speaking right now appealing. But obviously, as Sam was pointing to earlier, you're only running in a Republican nomination contest here. You need Republicans to come out and make you their party's nominee. One thing they're looking for quite seriously is somebody who can beat Hillary Clinton, who seems to be the formidable frontrunner at the moment on the Democratic side, come November 2008. Why are you the best Republican in the field to be able to defeat her, do you think?
For the same reason that Democrats are joining me, because they don't trust her in her sincerity to stop the war. She's already said that she can't get the troops out till 2013. She won't take anything off the table as far as attacking Iran. They don't see any change for foreign policy with Hillary Clinton versus George Bush. And for that reason, she does not stimulate that group. But she's not good on civil liberties, for the Patriot Act and invasion of privacy. So I can offer these views that would attract a lot of the Democrats and the independents.
You see Senator Clinton after her debate performance a week ago, which most people panned. Some of her people said, well, it's a bunch of men beating up on a woman. Do you think she's playing the gender card? Should she?
I don't know. I think of people only as individuals and what their philosophy is. So if they want to argue about that and not argue about the war and the Patriot Act and whether or not we have sound money, let them deal with the gender argument.
But do you not think, Congressman, following up on that, do you not think that if you were the nominee and she was the Democratic nominee and you were running against her, that there would have to be a different strategy, some different tactics used in running against a woman candidate than a male candidate?
Not for me. Not for me. Mine would be strictly philosophic, would deal with the Constitution and what she would do with Iran, and what she'd do with foreign aid and our military programs, and what she'd do for civil liberties. It would have nothing to do with whether or not she's a woman or not.